This is DJ Johnny at JDMFM, and today I'm continuing my history of Warrington, and this is the third video of the Latchford area in the series. Last time I did about the cenotaph, which is actually over there. Today I'm on Wildersbill Bridge. This is the huge flyover the bridge which brings the cars over from the island over there all the way to Bevan Island down there and St James's Church. Today, what I'm going to include is a little bit about St James's Church. St James's Church actually started over there and then finished over there. So I'm going to do a bit of walking today. And in between, I'm going to have a look at Wilderspool Station, Wildersbill train station. Never heard of it. Well, actually, Wildersbill train station used to be just down here. And we're going to have a quick look at the whys and wherefores and also why they built this bridge in the first place. Let's go and have a look at it. So this patch of land behind me is Warrington's smallest park. Warrington's smallest park? Why? What is it? Well, this site is where the first St James's Church was built in 1777. And the vicar was James Glazebrook. He was quite a guy because 2 years later in 1779, it was he who set up the very, very first Sunday school in the whole of the country at this church here, before Robert Raikes did in Gloucestershire. The church was a chapel of ease. We've mentioned about them before, and it's because the parishioners here actually used to have to go to St Wilfrid's at Grappenhall Parish Church, because that was their parish. It was all in Grappenhall at that time. But they had to build a church here because when the Bridgewater Canal was built, the parishioners couldn't get over the water. It was a long way. So they built this church on this site. However, the church only lasted about 50 years because in 1829, the building was becoming quite dilapidated and it wasn't big enough for the new parish, for the parishioners around this area. So they decided to build another church over the way, which you can actually see through there, the new St James's Church. So the old church which used to be here, this area that I'm in now is actually the graveyard. This is the graveyard, and the graveyard actually went out all the way into Knutsford Road over there, over the other side. When they widened Knutsford Road, they had to take up all the graves which were over that way and rebury them elsewhere. And because it's consecrated ground, nothing's ever been built on here. So this has become Warrington's smallest park. Amazing. Phew! So I've now walked all the way over there, over Wildersbill Bridge and come back, and this behind me is St James's Church, the new St James's Church, built in 1829. Now the interesting thing is about this church is the clock that you can see there isn't the clock that should have been here. This should have been the clock that was on St Elphin's Church when it was built, but the clock was going to be too heavy for the spire of the parish church. So they swapped them, and this is the clock which should have been at the parish church. Amazing! And the building behind me is actually Warrington's own buses. It's their bus depot, the maintenance depot. And the building was actually built in 1943 by Fairy Engineering to build wings for aircraft during the war. I understand the building is soon to be demolished and it's going to make way for a whole new enterprise with houses and units and the like. So it's going to be a completely different picture in a few years' time. Meanwhile, the bus depot is going to move to Dalham Lane. So I'm back in Marshall Gardens. You remember from my previous video, this is Marshall Gardens. Today I'm going to talk about the bridge which is going over the railway line, and it's the railway line which is the old Warrington to Stockport line, which used to go over that iron bridge there, all the way through to Altrincham and then eventually to Stockport. It's actually the same line which goes over the viaduct at Latchford Locks, which we'll come to in a future video. So in 1853, they built this new line. You remember we called it the low level line when I did my Banquise video earlier on. Well, the low level line came through, Banquise up there, came through. Actually, there's another station, Arpley Station, all gone now, and came through all over the bridge and all the way through. The difficulty was, in 1853, the bridge wasn't ready. They hadn't completed the ironwork, so they literally had to stop the trains at that point and start them again here. And the only way to do it was to put another station, which actually was on the other side of that bridge, Wildersbill Station. It didn't last very long because they soon got the metalwork all sorted out and the bridge was constructed within a year, and then they could have the through trains. So Wildersbill Station was indeed here for a very short time, and it was on the other side of that bridge. So I've just come to have a quick look at where Wilderspool Station used to be, and it was literally down there where those trees are, those bushes are. That's where it was. It was a single platform station, lasted about 6 months, although the train station itself was here for quite a few years for different reasons. But that's where it was. That's where Wilderspool train station used to be. So once the bridge was built in 1853-54, the railway was then working properly and the trains could run freely all the way from actually Liverpool, Garstang in that direction, all the way through, stopping at a few stations in between, all the way through to Altrincham and Stockport in that direction. That's brilliant. However, they'd forgot about the road which is going from Warrington Bridge, the bridge which is now towards Wilderspool Causway and Chester Road. This was quite a challenge because every time a train went past with either passengers or freight, it meant that they had to put there was a level crossing on the road just where the bridge is now, which stopped the traffic going through to allow the trains to go past. Well, it would have been all right in the early days when there wasn't very much traffic, but as traffic continued to increase, this became a massive congestion point for Warrington. And it was a real bottleneck for the traffic. So much so that they wanted to have something else to get over it. So what they decided to do was build a bridge. The challenges were that it was very expensive to build this bridge, and they believe they started in around 1900s thinking about this bridge. It actually only got built in 1957. So over 100 years of congestion took place on that stretch of the road. Blinking heck. So they eventually got funding for this new bridge, and it was built and opened in May 1957 by Alderman Edward Marshall. And just behind me is the actual plaque, which Edward Marshall unveiled on the 16th of May 1957. And after that, there was no more congestion and bottlenecks on this stretch. Traffic was free flowing all the way from Warrington Bridge down there over towards Wilderspool Causway in that direction. Phew! So that's the end of this very short video, number 3 on Latchford, where we covered the old St James's Church, which was over there, and the new St James's Church over there in 1829, and that interesting story about the clock. We looked at Warrington maintenance shed, the bus depot there, where it was the buildings were from Ferry Engineering, where they used to build aircraft wings in the war. And we've also looked at the interesting story about the railway, which is actually just below me. We've looked at the railway being built and also the congestion associated with the level crossing here, and how they built this magnificent bridge across the railway over there, which has made traffic flow a lot easier in Warrington. There's lots more videos coming up, you just have to watch this space. But meanwhile, this is DJ Johnny at JDMFM, and whatever you're doing, hope you have a fabulous time, and see you again very soon. Bye.